This conference will now be recorded.
Hi guys, this is Professor Olson. I'm doing the midweek critique for Friday of your package designs. We're going to start off with section 1. If I'm your instructor, you're in section 1, and then we'll move on to Professor Penna's class. So if you want to skip to the end, that's up to you. All right, starting off with Rebecca. Rebecca, you did Osiris Coffee, and I see your designs. They're really good. Good craftsmanship. You've got all the right elements. They look very professional. These are great. One thing I noticed is this pattern in here is the stock pattern from Illustrator that was created by Von Glitzka. It's a really cool pattern, but I encourage you to use your own pattern, which you're clearly capable of doing. So I think that color scheme actually works the best. So replace that pattern with another pattern, and I think you'll be in really good shape. These are good designs. All right, next up is Bogaga, and this is Iona's Treats. I think this design is good. I would say this particular layout is the best one out of your three. These are some changes I would make. So I would add some depth to this, maybe an inner glow with like a dark brown on the edges, maybe a little bit, try that. This pattern looks a little large in this format. When it gets on the handle, it seems kind of like overwhelming there. So maybe make that a little smaller. The front of your package feels a little, well, this version's better. This line of type, it seems like an arbitrary long length. I would maybe cut this down so it's like the width of your logo or something. You could put the net weight over in the corner maybe. When you add a little depth to this, I think it's going to improve that front panel quite a bit. So try that out. I think overall your color palette is pretty good. This turquoise seems a little out of place. I would maybe use a darker green in place of that. On the top, or you could use your light tan color maybe. But overall, you're in pretty good shape. Yves, you're next. Let's see. Yeah, you did a nice job on this. I like the color palette. I feel like this particular one is probably the best design. This last one feels, there's so much pink, it's kind of going crazy. It feels a little like candy or something, less coffee-like. So I would go with your first option, and I would say if there's any way you can eliminate this yellow rectangle, maybe turn it into a shape or change the background in some way so you don't need it, because it just feels like an arbitrary sort of shape in the design. Consider giving an alternate for that, but overall pretty good. Next up, Megan. Megan, yours is, I really like your logo. This little icon, this guy is kind of fun. What I would say is on the front panel, you need to have the whole logo, the logo lockup, type and icon. Sort of like this. This isn't quite a lockup yet, but so I do think this is your best design option. I would love for the white to be a color instead of just white. And I want to see your guy's face on the front. So with those two things, I think you'll have a good design. Justin, I was going to talk to you later, but overall, this is really good work. This is the best window I've ever seen a student do. There's some nice things going on here. Perhaps this font could be a little different so it's not matchy with the logo type. This pattern in the back is very subtle, but it looks a little like that Von Glitzka pattern. So make sure you're using your original artwork because you have some talent there. You should use that. I think overall this design is highly successful and works well. Maybe this type's a little scattered here. Could tighten it up. Consider an image of some type here maybe. but those would just sort of push it to the top. But overall, yeah, very good. Next up is Austin. Austin, yeah, we talked a little bit about this. I think this last design is the best. This is really good. You don't have the net weights. You gotta add that. I would take this word milk chocolate and put it in a more sort of like Helvetica type font, like something a little simpler and maybe smaller so it doesn't go over the plate. The logo type feels a little faded, like it feels light, and these are, I guess, black and this is brown. So you don't want these overwhelming, upstaging your logo type. So I would say knock these two things back a little bit to be more in line with that. Your nutrition facts, by the way, should be on a white background. It would have to be on a white background, but it's on the back. So yeah, overall your logo looks a little faded. I would like to see that stronger. It's like stronger here. Take a look at that again. Anyway, good job. Let's see, William. I like this fourth one the best. I don't know why the sky's white. Should be a color. Maybe it's a gradient. Maybe it's the one part where there's a gradient. Your logo looks very monochromatic. It feels very dark and black. I know you're using a sort of dark brown color, but I would try to give this a little more staging here. If the mountain could somehow not cut off in the middle, I think that would be better. But overall, it's a good job. You got your nutritional facts, you need ingredients, you need net weight on the front. You could have a descriptor line of some type explaining what it is. So maple mint candy, the treat from Vermont or something like that. I don't know. All right, McKenna, this is nice Irish cheddar cheese straw. So the logo is kind of small and this is really big and black. I would try to push the emphasis a little more toward the logo. The type should probably be in a color. This white background feels like a default. I would make this like a 5% yellow. It might be really kind of creamy looking, which would be good for this. Everywhere it's white, perhaps. Just a subtle yellow. See what that looks like, because I think that would be better. And you've got one design. Everybody, you should have 3 designs to meet the assignment. All right, Lemoria, you did Barbarillas. Like I said, everywhere it's white, I would consider a color. Everywhere it's black, I would consider a color. Overall, the design is pretty solid. You've only got one though, but see what you can do other than white and other than black. All right, Justin, I talked about. All right, Ariana, Sol Beso, these are nice designs. I like what you did with this. The sort of gold leaf here is fairly nice with this window. I do feel like this orange shape is a little dominating, especially because it mirrors your icon. I would just take it off. I think this package would be great without that. The stripes, this is challenging to try to line this up, so I wouldn't do that to yourself. Consider putting something else in the background here, but actually this first one is really your best design, so this one. Good work. I like the gradient. This is a nice warm gradient. This gold foil is nice. Really good job. All right, Josephine, Bermuda T. So this design is, you're struggling to get the attention focused. So it should be your logo lockup, which I don't really see. It's kind of like pieces and parts of things together. Like here it is, looks like an alarm clock or something. Here it's squished. The type is different here. It's different here, different icon, multiple patterns, different sizes. This is a stock pattern. simplify this a lot. Figure out what your logo should look like and use it consistently. Use a color palette. It seems like you've got every color, all different colors. So you have to focus on consistency when branding. So your logo should be consistent. Your color palette should have some consistency. Your uses of patterns, you're using all different kinds of patterns. I would simplify that as well and try to get the viewer to focus on what you want them to see about this brand, which I'm not even really sure what you're trying to tell us about this, because it doesn't seem to have anything sort of Bermudan about it. But I would do some more work on that. All right, Heath, Stonehaven, super clean design, good craftsmanship, a little stark, and maybe needs a little more branding. Maybe a descriptor line, what is this? Maybe more colors, maybe some gradients to create a little depth in here or something. Right now it feels really stark, and you've only got one design. I would like to see three. You need to have three different designs. All right, and Robert. All right, so Wacky Noodles. This first, I think your first design's the best. Now your logo everything looks sort of pixelated here and not right. So it's very thin and you have a black stroke on it. You're obviously struggling to get this to pop out from the background. I would maybe give yourself a little better background. You got a drop shadow here. This drop shadow really doesn't look good. The word noodles, I would maybe pick a bolder, simpler font. Yeah, try to simplify that. It looks like maybe you brought this in from this logo you did in Photoshop. I hope not. But right now it doesn't, the craftsmanship is poor. This first design maybe is the best. I don't know. It's kind of like these hexagons make me think of science or something. This isn't really ringing true with a brand, a fun kids brand. It's not really coming through. Beware where you're using strokes. It looks like there's strokes on these stripes. So you could clean this up quite a bit. Also, the template is not being used right. You got to shift these around a little bit to get them right. So take another look at all that. All right, next up, Professor Penna's class, Crystal Tortuga Jelly Beans. This is a lot of fun. I feel like it's maybe a little kid-like, but it's, it's supposed to be adult, sophisticated jelly beans. Everywhere it's white, I would consider maybe a color, something like this. This one might work. I don't know, I think I like number 3 the best. I like the pattern a little tighter. This is a fun idea. You could make this look a little more realistic, like a window. Some of these items, they're going to be kind of crazy crooked when you put it together. The horizontal line is where you want to line up things because the vertical lines splay out. So if you line it up against the vertical line, that'll be crooked when it's put together. All right, Caitlin, let's see, Kristen, Salty. So you don't really have a logo lockup here, but you have done a nice job with this package design. So that being said, I would say Salty Dog should be the dominant words on here, and sea salt caramels maybe smaller, maybe all caps. Just make it the width of Salty Dog. So that the hierarchy is better. But there's very good craftsmanship here. I like this shake shingle rooftop, the boards, the silhouette of the caramels is really well done. Trying to see the differences in your designs. Looks like all one design. It's one good design, but you really should have 3. So consider making a couple more because you've done a great job on this one. All right, next up, Billy. Okay, so saffron cookies. This color palette's fun, it looks good. The one thing I'd say, this pattern is another stock pattern from Illustrator. I'm pretty sure this is the other von Glitzka pattern. Your logo is very delicate, has tiny little thin lines. And then you have this really bold pattern with bright, high contrasting hues. So your logo gets overshadowed. You don't want that. You want your logo to be the star. So I would knock this back, maybe use a different pattern that's more low contrast, so that your logo gets to be the hero. These cookies could use a little more craftsmanship cutting them out. And you only have one design, you need to have 3. All right, and next up, Kevin. I love the spaceship. This is kind of fun. I'm concerned that when this gets assembled, you won't be able to see enough of the flying saucer to understand what it is. Here it's a little better. This zigzaggy thing is kind of interesting. It's like either mountains or electro waves or something. This type feels a little cramped in here. I would maybe make the descriptor line smaller. Strawberry maybe could go somewhere else, maybe up on top here. And less cramped. You're not really locking up your logo, which I would like to see, but this is pretty fun layout, what you've got there. This one doesn't work, and it's less colors. I would love to see if this could work, this first one, but maybe just the, well, it is really the second one. So if you could assemble this and see if that saucer reads on the top, probably not. So, all right, next up, Alexis. So Black Sea chocolate, this is the Ukrainian chocolate. There's nothing Ukrainian about this whatsoever. It feels very unbranded. You're using just a regular like Hershey bar being unpeeled as your logo. Your logo is kind of anemic and weak. I would make Black Sea very big, chocolate smaller. Eliminate this square in the background, some imagery, maybe pictures of chocolate. Think of what you would do to make this appealing and have some branded look to it. You don't really have patterns or textures or anything going on, so a lot more work to get this up to speed, and this is one design, you need to have 3. All right, Carmen, Maritime Soap. This also feels very stark. I see the bubbles on the top. That's kind of interesting. You need a descriptor line on the front. Your logo is kind of hard to work with because it's a very horizontal image. Maritime may be much bigger. Soap could be smaller, different font, net weight. So you're missing some things. You need to do that. And you've got one design. You need to have 3. All right, Asia, Kukos chips. This image of chips is not particularly pretty, and it's kind of small and not really doing you favors. I would get a different photo, maybe more appetizing and appealing. I do like your color palette. I think the design is kind of branded in the right way. Descriptor line, net weight, a little more different elements here that would help convince somebody to buy this. All right, Carrie Ann, and you only have one design as well. You need to have 3. Carrie Ann, mint soap. So this design's good. It looks a little kind of faded. Like the only thing really strong is this warning in black. Everything else is very desaturated almost. So I wouldn't want that to be the thing that jumps out at you. So consider how you build some contrast. This white background, maybe a tint of green, of your green in there, perhaps, and maybe a stronger blue color so that some of these elements pop out a little, maybe more saturation. So it looks like you're experimenting. Yeah, see, I like this blue background, that's better. This little dot pattern doesn't kind of have any meaning whatsoever, so I don't know, it's just kind of keeping it busy. I like it better when you use the bubbles like you did on this first one here. All right, next up, Richard Tupemate. This is like a start to a design. The color palette's okay. Descriptor line, what is this? Net weight. You've got nutritional facts, which may not be necessary for tea, but you want to have a little more branding. What makes this special? This textured brush element around here is kind of interesting. Maybe you could use that elsewhere, create a little more interest. How would you sell this? Right now, it looks unfinished. All right. Caitlin, stone soup, which is like a hearty soup mix that you make at home. None of these packages really convey that to me. You just really stuck the logo onto a package, created some patterns that have nothing to do with the brands. Think about why this exists and why you're selling it. Maybe there's a beautiful picture of the finished soup. Your logo is struggling a bit because you've got these double circles. If it was just a rock and a big word stone soup underneath, maybe that would work a little better. But think about selling. What are you going to try to convince people about this product? Explain what it is, add net weight, show a picture of it maybe. Right now it's very stark and looks unfinished, and you're adding sort of arbitrary patterns around. Perhaps using a stone texture, a photo of stone texture, something like that might be interesting on the other panels instead of circles. So think about that. All right, that's all we got. I'm sorry for the late delay on this. I had an audio problem on the first take, so I'm providing a new one now. Hopefully this will help you, and I can't wait to see your final designs.